Kelly's POV. It's a good thing you're cautious. You could have lost your baby, Miss Monroe. My lips parted as I stared at the female doctor in front of me. She was holding a piece of paper. She smiled and said to me, "Congratulations, Miss Monroe, you are 2 months pregnant." I felt my heart race immediately. He felt tears in the corner of my eyes as I slowly accepted the certificate of pregnancy. "Oh my God," I whispered. "Piers would be very happy to hear this news. He's actually coming back home this afternoon after almost a month of traveling for the sake of our family's business. He's the president of AID, the leading fashion magazine company all over Asia. I am actually the vice president of the company, and we've been working together for 3 years after we got married." I looked at the doctor and smiled happily again. "Thank you so much, doctor." She wrote something and handed it to me. "Here, buy these vitamins. You'll need it to make yourself and your baby healthy." I nodded and gently pulled myself up. "Thank you again, doctor." I was so happy as I left the hospital. I went to the basement parking lot and saw my personal driver standing beside the car, puffing a cigarette. I looked at Luke, my personal driver, in the rearview mirror. "What time is Pierce's arrival?" He glanced at his wristwatch and looked at me through the rearview mirror. "He'll arrive at 4 p.m., ma'am. We can get there before his arrival." "Drive to the airport, Luke." "Yes, ma'am." I smiled and looked at the certificate of pregnancy. I can't wait to tell him about our baby. I wonder what his reaction would be. Would he scream in happiness? Would he kiss me and all? God, I can't contain my happiness. I gently caressed my stomach and looked outside the window when the car stopped. We're now in front of the airport. I should call him, right? I smiled and looked at Luke. He nodded. "Yes, ma'am." I smiled even more and took my phone out. I immediately dialed Pierce's number, but my forehead creased when the call didn't reach him. I tilted my head and stared at the screen. "His signal might be too slow for now, ma'am. He must have just got out of the plane." "Right." I nodded and put my cell phone down. I waited for almost half an hour before I dialed his number again. I was so excited when the call was picked up, but my excitement died down immediately after I heard a woman's voice. "Hello, who is this? Where's Pierce?" I asked, a bit annoyed. "Mr. Anderson is in the toilet. Do you have a message for him? I will relay it." I gritted my teeth and ended the call. "Who's that girl?" "Mr. Anderson." Wait, she might just be Pierce's secretary. I calmed myself down and waited patiently again. However, I fell asleep without even having to receive a call from my own husband. I was shocked when I realized the sun was already down and we were still outside the airport. I looked at Luke, who was watching something on his cell phone. "Luke ... He immediately got alert. "Yes, ma'am. Pierce hasn't arrived?" "No, ma'am." I massaged my forehead and pressed my lips together. "I'm worried. What happened to him?" "Drive home. For 3 years, Pierce and I got along well. He was sweet and gentle to me. He was caring. He calls me every time he gets a chance. He never made me feel unwanted. He's the perfect husband, but what's happening to him now? I don't know. These past few days he hasn't been calling me. I tried to understand, but I'm getting scared now." I fell asleep at home feeling so insecure and worried. I woke up in the middle of the night when I felt someone caressing my cheek. Slowly, I opened my eyes and I realized I fell asleep in the living area. Someone lifted me from the couch. I immediately recognized his scent and touch as I looked at him with heavy-lidded eyes. "Purse. He hummed as he walked towards the stairs. "Why did you sleep on the couch?" I stared at his face when he gently put me down on the bed. He caressed my hair and kissed my forehead. "Where have you been? I've been waiting for you," I said as I caressed his cheek. "Just met a friend. How about you? How's your day?" I smiled. "Better now you're here." He chuckled and playfully pinched my nose. "I'll just take a shower. I smell alcohol." I just nodded and watched him as he walked towards the bathroom. I felt so sleepy, so I closed my eyes again and fell asleep. It was already morning when I opened my eyes again and Pierce was beside me, putting a tray of food on the bedside table. "Hey!" I greeted and smiled when I realized what he'd done. He prepared breakfast for me in bed, the sweetest. He smiled and sat on the bed. Good morning. I grinned as I sat on the bed. He carried the tray and put it beside me. I shot an eyebrow up and tilted my head as I stared at his handsome face. His eyes are deep brown, his eyebrows were thick and black, complementing his beautiful eyes. His nose was proud and pointed and his lips were red and thin. He literally looks like a sexy bad boy. Even Damon Salvatore would be embarrassed to stand beside him. No one stands a chance against this man. What is this? Is this a bribe? You stood me up last night, bad boy. He didn't laugh. He heaved a sigh and gently tucked my hair on my ears before he held my hand and stared into my eyes. I have something to tell you. I felt my heart race. I thought about our baby in my womb. He's got something to tell. I have something to tell him too. What is it? I asked as I felt my voice tremble. He took a deep sigh. You know you're important to me, right? I slowly nodded with parted lips. I couldn't answer. I'm scared of what he's about to say. I have a bad feeling about this. You were my best friend before we got married. You are one of the few people I treasure. I hid my bald fists under the sheet. I don't know why he's telling me all these, but I felt tears pulling in the corner of my eyes already. Kelly, he paused and squeezed his eyes closed before he looked at me again in the eyes. I think it's time for us to divorce. P-Pierce. He smiled. I know you don't have feelings for me either. You just married me because of my grandparents. You just did this because you love them. Now it's time for our real happiness. Kelly. I shook my head. What are you talking about, Pierce? Lexi is back, Kelly. My first love is back.